tomorrow, Dad's debuts officially just in time for Father's Day. How excited are you to have this feature directorial debut hitting audiences?
I literally, just as you said that, I got like, like these like nerves just sort of just kind of come upon me. I'm really, really, really excited. When I did this movie, for whatever reason, it didn't really fully occur to me that people were going to see it. And I realized that about 24 hours before I screened it for the first time at the Toronto Film Festival. And I I legitimately started to panic. Like, not in a conscious way, but like in an unconscious way, where I was just like, why am I lightheaded? why am I can't kind of catch my breath. And it was it was a very vulnerable, wild kind of thing to know that folks were going to see it, and the movie opens with my birth, and that's so weird. And so I'm feeling similarly right now, just because it's going to be coming out tomorrow. Wild Father's Day weekend. That was the plan.
Exactly, just in time for us to all celebrate our fathers. And aren't you so glad though that your parents have that footage of your birth? You're like, clutch, guys.
Right? Yeah, no, I knew, I kind of early on, I was like, I wonder if we could look at some of our home movies, because they were really good at taking home movies, as evidenced by the film. And pretty early on, my dad was like, I don't know, I feel sort of hesitant to include our family in this, Bryce, which made sense. But I didn't listen.
And then you eventually even, got him to get involved. Obviously, your younger brother got involved when he revealed that he was expecting his first child, which makes it a perfect transition. But, now that it's coming closer and it's almost Father's Day, is this your present to them?
You know what? I've totally joked about that. My daughter, on Mother's Day, she asked me, she was like, what are you going to get Daddy for Father's Day? And I was like, oh, this year I made him a documentary, so I'm okay. But now I'm like, it's coming up this weekend, and I'm like, oh, wait, I should get a gift for Seth for Father's Day.
It's one of those things that right now, especially, like, time kind of has no concept. So yeah, it does really sneak up on you. I think you get a reprieve on this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's been amazing, and I'm headed off to back to film Jurassic pretty soon, and for the time being, the family's going to stay here, and so he deserves to be celebrated this weekend, because he has a stretch of time ahead of him, doing it on his own.
Yeah, you actually, when we got a chance to speak to you about this film in Toronto, you brought up something that really struck me when I was going back and doing my research last night. And you talked about the privilege that you have in having a partner that could stay home with your kids so that you could go work full time. And at a time where we're examining privilege in a lot of different ways, I would just love to talk to you about that point, because this film is also celebrating fathers in that way, that, that fathers are those real caregivers as well, not just moms.
Yes, completely. And I think that it's, there's a lot of stuff in life that, until you're like, oh, whoa, this is not what everybody else experiences, you don't realize that you have something that others don't. And I mean, it's to me, like, my husband is a very, very engaged, present parent. And it's not that I have encountered other fathers who are not, but I have encountered other circumstances all the time where fathers are not given the space or not able to be that in their family's life at all. And it is not their choice at all. And so that's something that is it's just totally obvious. I mean, this being a perfect example, like I said to my husband yesterday, I was like, what, I'm so happy that I have a job, but what would we have done if right now you were also needing to leave? And so to have that partnership, and for him to even like to also like his self-esteem is great, like his confidence is great, like him being at home with the kids and not being on a set himself is no failure at all. And that's a huge blessing. I couldn't have my life without that.
Yeah.
I couldn't have it. And people would look at my life and they'd say, oh, I'm sure, it's wonderful. I would have had a wonderful life, but it would have been remarkably different if I didn't have a husband who was willing to be all in with me and make some difficult choices along the way in order to facilitate that.
Because culturally, I mean, the whole line of it is, in interviews like this, you would always be the one to get the question of, how do you balance it all? How do you juggle it with kids? And men don't get that question. It's just, of course their wife is going to take care of it. It's fine.
Yeah. And that's a really crazy assumption to make. Like, we have no idea what fathers are facing or what it takes. And again and again and again, the cultural global assumption is that fathers are not meant to be caregivers in the same way that mothers are meant to be caregivers. And that's just like scientifically, biologically not true at all. And what that does is it puts enormous pressure on the women, and it equally completely undermines the father, undermines his natural instincts where he wants to take care of his child and his family, and just puts him in places that are just not fair at all. Like, it's like my husband, like I had to kind of fight for my husband to be on some texting chains because the moms just wanted the moms on the texting chain. And it's like, why? What are you trying to tell him? Yeah. Why do you what are you saying? We don't want you here? Anyway, I could go crazy, but
that's an important conversation that this film, when people watch it, will understand how much, we talk about like absent fathers and we talk about all these things, but there is a big cultural global element to it that you explore. You have the celebrity dads, but you also have, all of these amazing global representation of everyday fathers. And I would love to
call them hero dads. We have our comedian fathers and our hero fathers.
Yes, our hero dads. Tell me a little bit about assembling that group in particular.
Oh my gosh. If we had a bigger budget, there would have been so many more fathers even, because honestly, it was really, really, really difficult to narrow down our dads, because there are millions and billions of you out there who are just unreal, being heroes on a day-to-day basis, like totally on the DL. And basically my goal at first was to infiltrate the daddy blogger community, because I was like, who are you? And what kind of amazing stories do you have? And insights and, everything. And Glenn Belief Henry was actually the first father that we were in contact with. And he had done a TED Talk that for me was really like, when I watched that, I was like, okay, if I can somehow share, like, if his story, if we can see that with each one of these fathers, like, then it's like gold, because his TED Talk was amazing. And he also is a filmmaker and a musician, and has amassed kind of an incredible reserve of archival footage of himself and his family. And so it was very, very, very generous. And so he was kind of like our bar. It's very hard to meet. And yet we found so many incredible dads.
Speaking of Glenn, I really wanted to take a quick second to highlight Glenn and Robert Selby.
Yeah.
you know, in the times that we're living in right now, being able to highlight these Black fathers. I know there was no like direct intention of doing any one certain thing, but I felt particularly moved by that, and how important seeing those images are at the moment. So I would love if we could talk a little bit about that, and what, you know, you kind of hope that people get from it, because there is this, you know, stigma and these other images that you see of, you know, Black guys don't want to be involved fathers and things like that. But I hope this documentary can do a little something to shed a light on something else.
Well, thank you for saying that. And I mean, I feel so lucky to have been able to essentially be a fly on their walls, because there's no like we never had to manipulate the edit. Like, these guys are way better fathers than we were ever even able to like depict. And I think that, you know, our imaginations as human beings, as vast as we think they are very, very, very limited by the things that we see, consume, and experience. And if we're seeing examples of dads in the media being like these like incompetent, bumbling fathers or absentee dads or whatever, we're going to think like, oh, that's what is normal. And what both Glenn and Robert are doing is they're normalizing being a father and being a caregiver as a father. And because the idea of like what a father is often a provider, you know, a protector. And yes, a father are those things, but they are caregivers. And it was really crucial to me to have an even number of stay-at-home fathers and working fathers. And so, perfect example, Glenn is a stay-at-home father. Robert Selby has several jobs that he's working simultaneously. You could look at both of their stories and you could think that they're both stay-at-home dads. And that is what I think we need to see. That as a parent myself, I needed to see, like seeing Robert Selby and what he's juggling. I was like, I'm a loser. Like, he is unbelievable. And Glenn Belief, like his entire platform that he's created on YouTube, and not just how he's sharing his family stories like for entertainment, but the way in which he's inviting people into his home and allowing people to see the heart of a father. And because you asked this question, you know, specifically a Black father who is a caregiver, this is so essential. And I'll end it with saying, I mean, how about Robert Selby's story about his own father? Yeah. That, to me, I like just got like chills just thinking about it. Quick summary of Robert's story is that he was very good friends with a woman, and she became pregnant. They were not together. They were not in a relationship. And he got really freaked out and disappeared for a couple of months, and then realized that that would be a huge mistake, and came back and begged for her forgiveness, and then proceeded to be the most amazing father ever. His son was born with 3 holes in his heart, life-threatening condition, open heart surgery. And he goes to the ends of the earth for his son. And then you learn about his father. And this is why he came back after 2 months of being like, okay, I'm not ready to be a father. And then he realized, hang on, what am I doing? His father, he said, was his everything. He was the man on the moon. He was president. He was anything. He was this amazing, amazing, amazing man who was present and involved. And Robert Selby had that experience. And so when he had the opportunity to be a parent, even though it wasn't something that he felt prepared for, he leaned into that with integrity and with the example of his own father. And so that's like he knew what that was. And so he knew how to show up.
Exactly. And how important it is. Absolutely. I mean, the reason why I bring this up is because we're talking so much about amplifying Black voices right now.
Yes.
And I feel like this is a perfect example of that. I know you've been sharing the mic, you've been sharing a lot of resources as well. I wanted to know why that's something that is important to you.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, there's a moment right now that is, I believe, a God-given moment. Oh, I'll get really, where there's a listening, there's an opening. We've all been grounded for a few months now. And stories are so powerful. Stories that are true, stories that, are not true, but come from a voice. So it is their truth, they change our lives. I've had my life changed again and again and again when I watch a movie or read something and I'm like, I didn't know. Now I see. I am forever changed. Yeah. And so there is this moment right now where there is an opportunity for us to evolve, and we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
Yeah.
We are. And so I mean, it's I feel just so privileged that, in my first documentary happens to be some stories that inspire me so much. And, these men are heroes. And so I just feel very, very lucky.
And it's very much appreciated. I mean, you shared the mic, you took part. Of course, I take responsibility. I would love to ask you real quick a question about that.
Yeah.
The one thing that didn't get addressed in the video is what you are doing to take responsibility. Yeah. A lot of people kind of took on other parts of it, but I don't know how much you guys have been asked about that.
Yeah. And I think that's really important, because there's the thing that I've been holding on to the most is understanding what it is to be anti-racist. Because I think, speaking for myself as a white person, it's like the worst thing that you could ever be called or think that you are is racist. I mean, that is like the worst thing in the world. And yet, talking about race within the white community is so taboo. It's our issue. We're the majority. It's our issue. It's our problem. And so if we don't start to talk about it, then we're not going to be able to learn about it. And I just in the last few weeks, I mean, there's been so many resources that have been so incredibly eye-opening for me, and specifically anti-racism, and understanding what that is, what it looks like to be an active ally, that's a verb, and how you can show up consistently. And it will transform from day to day, because this movement is in process, and there's going to be things to do and ways to show up that I could never even guess right now, And so it's a lot of reading as well. And also I think I can't swear on this, right? No.
We can cut around it, but
I need to decolonize everything in my home. So so what is it? It's, I go to the bookshelf, my kid's bookshelf, and I start to look at the authors, and then I go online and I look up the authors. And if the distribution of authors and their backgrounds, if it's not reflective of reality, what am I doing as a parent? Why am I creating a world for my children that is not reflective of our actual amazing planet? And so it's just, Black voices have been excluded, diminished, oppressed for centuries, particularly in this country. And it's our responsibility to do something about it as a white person.
Hey, listen, when you posted what you did about the help, I was like, yep, we should have expected this from Bryce in a very, very good way. I thought that was a very educational, thoughtful post to explain, because I think what a lot of people forgot was that the movie just came out. movie just came out on Netflix too. And so they just immediately like went in on everyone watching it without understanding some full context. But I did think it was very responsible and educational. So thank you for
oh, thank you.
too. Yeah, I mean, that's been, I was speaking to somebody else the other day. I just completely lost my train of thought.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, it was someone that I was using the help as an example the other day because I was talking about the relationship between Jessica and Octavia and her working to get her paid equally on the film. I mean, there's a legacy that has come from that movie also of allyship between this cast that I think is also important to know.
Yeah, I mean, that movie would, yeah. I mean, it's the first thing. I met Octavia Spencer and she was like, hello, nice to meet you. Here's a DVD of Eyes on the Prize. Watch this and then let's talk, and so forever, I just have will be so thankful to know these women. I mean, we are a family and I am blessed.
Yeah, it's a really strong experience. It just doesn't have to be the movie we watch at this exact moment.
No, the experience was amazing. We were beyond it.
Yeah.
That was 10 years ago. But it's also like we just, what it is? It's like, it's the Googling the names behind projects. That's just so important because I don't think people really realize like when you start Googling the authors on your bookshelf or the filmmakers in your DVD collection or Blu-ray collection or, Netflix, queue or whatever it is. And you pay attention to the voices that are not represented there. If you're like, oh my gosh, I'm only hearing from this amount of people. Like, what? Mm-hmm. Like that's a commitment to ignorance.
Yeah.
So
I think that's very powerful information to know because people don't understand Hollywood, and you, of course, are someone who knows the Hollywood system from all angles. So thank you for being one of those voices that is speaking up. I think it's really important, and for making a film like this that is so representative and shining a light on something that we don't get to talk about very much. Back to your family for just a moment. Your dad, actually, this isn't even going to go on the video. I'm just telling you to tell you, he was the very first person I ever interviewed.
No way.
Yes. So I have a real soft spot for your father.
And he's sweet, isn't he?
He's wonderful. And you had to kind of convince him not only to let the family be a part of it, but to come in for that interview.
Yeah.
I've seen no less than 17 messages on Twitter from your dad about this movie in the last 5 days. So what does it mean to share this experience with him?
I just will kind of never get over the fact that I needed an expecting father in this movie and that my brother ended up, like him and his wife ended up getting pregnant. And that allowed for me to interview my dad in a way that was, I think, way more comfortable for him than it would have been if it was just like, I love you, Dad, like, tell me about yourself. Like, he was able to contextualize his experience of being a father because his son was about to become a dad. So and my grandfather, I mean, that was an interview that I had done many years prior. And, he was an incredible father and grandfather and just kind of overall patriarch, just really good guy. And so to get to also dedicate the movie to my grandfather, for me personally it's very meaningful.
I was when I got to that portion, it definitely choked me up because again, it's one of those things that, certain things had to happen to line up for this all to work out the way that it did. And it's so awesome that this all was able to come together.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's amazing to me. And even I'm so thankful that it's being released on Apple TV and that it's a streaming service and that it wasn't, we hadn't planned on some giant theatrical release. So, that's another thing that I'm like, oh, okay.
It's like an intimate thing too. Like, families are going to sit down and hopefully watch this all together over the weekend. And I do hope that it gives people a new appreciation for dads. Maybe want to call my dad.
Oh, good. That's the goal. That's part of the goal. Yeah, no, I hope so. And that's why we're releasing it on Father's Day weekend as well, because it's not like a hard hitting, like investigative journalism. I don't even know the terminology. Like it's a celebration of dads. I set out to make a comedy. It's kind of a tearjerker, but it's also a celebration. And that's it. It's short and sweet and meant to be something that hopefully gives you all the feels and makes you love your parents.
And it's definitely a comedy. The moment where the father takes the sledgehammer to the game console, I had to rewind it. I was rolling. It was.
He had like a panda, like teddy bear sweatshirt on.
Looks like the most mild-mannered dad ever, and he's just like, I'm done.
I'm totally done. Like, I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, and you just know instantly what's happening. The son is like, no! Like, you're like, oh, he's smashing his video games. Like, he couldn't get his son off the video games, and that's what he ended up doing.
He's over it. I love that you also caught up with your hero dads, at least over Zoom during this pandemic. How are they all doing? And is there, anything you wish that you could have added to the documentary that they were telling you about in that call?
Oh gosh. Oh, you know what? Absolutely. Two of our fathers have more children. Or three of our fathers have more children. So Rob and Reese adopted a son named Alex. And he's just graduating high school, and so he just graduated, and so they've got 5 kids, and Glenn Believe Henry and his wife, they had a 4th kid, so now they're parents to 4 kids, and they had a 3rd boy, so. It's just, I mean, I would say if there's anything that I wish was in there, it would just be the entirety of their families, because, they're still growing.
Yeah, and of course, as we're all at home, that means more like at home temper tantrums too. Is there a particular at home temper tantrum moment that you wish you could have included from your family?
Oh my gosh. Oh, there's so many. Oh gosh, I'm just like scrolling through it in my head, like what ridiculous.
Well, because I mean, literally, my dog is banging on the glass door to get in now. I'm not a person parent, but being a dog parent even is difficult. So I can't imagine what you people with actual people are doing.
Around. You know what? I have felt so lucky because my kids are 8 and 13. And the 8-year-old is really like 47, and the 13-year-old is 13. and it's like they clean their own toilets. I have to tell them to do it, and I have to bribe them with media, but they clean their own toilets. So they'll get in like little like quibbles and stuff, and the school stuff. Figuring all of that out for a little while was a touch of drama, but all in all, it's been okay.
Yeah, you did it. You did it, Mom. Mom and Dad, you guys did it. And also, congratulations. I know you're headed off to get back on set for Jurassic. And I know you can tell me 0 things about but what does it mean to you to be able to get back to work on that set? And I know they've put forth so many different health precautions to make sure that you guys are safe.
Yeah, it means a lot. This entire time, ever since we were shut down in the middle of March, along with the rest of the planet, I kept thinking again and again, like on a daily basis, just I feel so grateful that I have a job to go back to, because so many people don't. And the uncertainty of all of this is already too much to handle for folks. And so just being able to have a job is huge. To add to that, the fact that I absolutely love these people. I love them. They're my family. It's been wonderful getting to make these movies. And I trust them. Like they really, really, really have my back and I have theirs. And so as we're heading toward starting up again, there have been so many conversations and we've asked we, the actors, have asked all the uncomfortable questions, and we're getting answers that actually bring us comfort. And if there isn't an answer, then they're figuring it out. And movie people are good at that, figuring out how to solve temporary problems. Not necessarily permanent, but temporary.
Well, yeah, because it's complicated. I mean, scenes even where two people are next to each other, or like, you know, kissing or touching, and like, you know, all of those are things that someone has to figure out.
Yes, exactly. And there's certainly a lot of moving parts. But it's like, if you keep focusing on something long enough, you can figure stuff out. And that is what they have done. And they've brought all the actors into it, the union into it, obviously, you know, epidemiologists, healthcare providers, you know, people who have really been on the front lines and understand as much as you can understand about this disease and what it takes, so that we can go to work safely, because you don't make movies in order to jeopardize your life. And we're not going to be.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But you did, before everything shut down, you guys had already finished season 2 of The Mandalorian, another project you can tell me nothing about. But what was it like directing this time around? You know, especially since we now know that you got thrown in the deep end, as Jon Favreau put it. He was like, oh yeah, no, we gave her the hardest part. You're like, thanks.
So sweet. You're so sweet. It was great. It's so wonderful to to be asked back. You're like, you know, yeah. I mean, it's been such a freaking blast. And I have to say, the amount of progress that everyone has made behind the scenes in terms of the technology and what they're able to do from the first season to the second season is kind of mind blowing. Like, I was like, wait, I just left for 6 weeks. Wait, when did you do this? When did you build all this new stuff?
And you're telling me Baby Yoda is now teenage Yoda? Spoiler, just kidding.
I know. So it's, I mean, but like Baby is a good example. You know, there's the team Legacy who did the animatronics.
Yeah.
You know, I've worked with them many times over the years on Terminator, on Jurassic, and they're just constantly improving upon that process of, you know, of essentially puppeteering and that art form. And so, yeah, same thing with Baby, first season to second season. I'm like, is Baby conscious yet? Like, has Baby experienced singularity? Like,
can I go over different takes? Like, can I say, actually, can you do it a little more this way?
I know. I'm like, Baby's really advanced now.
Full range of performance.
Yeah.
So as far as directing goes, what do you want to do next? Because you've now done a Star Wars project like Dad. You've done a parenting film like Dad. Are you going to space next in terms of like astronauts?
Yes.
Your career. I
would love that, actually. I would love to go to space. Or in any kind of shape or form. What's really funny. So I have no idea. I have no idea. There's a few things that I'm developing right now that I am like insanely excited about. One in particular that when the recording is off, I'll tell you. That I'm the most excited about. But I love big complicated projects because I love the problem solving that goes into it. And and how it requires everybody to work together and to communicate. And that's, you know, that's fun. I don't know, that's my jam. So anything with is, you know, a lot of moving parts, emerging technology, performance heavy, family stuff. Yeah, just love it. Love it. Love it.